Good Saturday morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, we're celebrating an anniversary. It has been 5 years since Airbus's first U.S.-based commercial aircraft manufacturing facility started production in Mobile. Since that time, Airbus officials say the local workforce has grown from around 250 people producing the A320 family aircraft to now 1,000 employees building the A220 and the A320 aircraft families. Airbus says the Mobile facility is approaching now its 200th delivery of an A320 aircraft to 8 different customers. Aircraft which have now flown more than 60 million passengers and 600 million miles. Now, in celebrating 5 years of production in Mobile, the CEO of Airbus Americas said that not only was this facility created to strengthen the U.S. aerospace industry, but Airbus is committed to becoming a major economic driver in the creation of an aerospace hub on the Gulf Coast. Now, this is what Airbus's accomplishments have been so far. Expanded the Mobile site at the Brooklyn Aeroplex to now 186 acres. 2 new final phase flight line hangars, and enlarged the delivery center with new parking spaces for aircraft and a new flow line final assembly line building. When complete, Airbus will have invested nearly $1 billion in Mobile, supporting 15,000 jobs through construction and payroll.
Over the last 2 years, we've gone from 450 employees to now 1,000. 300 suppliers who come on site every day, we're able to produce up to 6, 7 A320s a month, even though we're not there at this precise moment.
Here this morning, Daryl Taylor, he joins us, Vice President and General Manager of the Airbus manufacturing facility in Mobile. Michelle Hurdle, Director of Airbus's Economic and Community Development. And Stephen Brown, an Airbus Manufacturing Quality Assurance Lead Employee, and also a Mobile native. We'll learn more about Airbus and its incredible impact on the Gulf Coast when Perspectives continues after this quick break. Joining us, Daryl Taylor, the Vice President and General Manager of Airbus Manufacturing Facility. We thank you for being a part of the discussion this morning.
Thank you, Eric. It's great to be here.
When we talk about Airbus Mobile and thinking of people who may have never seen the scope of the operation there, tell us what type of impact that's happening there at the Brooklyn Aeroplex under Airbus.
Yeah, I'd love to. We've just celebrated our 5th anniversary here in Mobile as a manufacturing site. And I think, as everybody knows, that's on the heels of 15 years with our space and defense and 13 years with our engineering center. 5 years ago when we opened the facility, we had a vision of being able to deliver single aisle A320, A321 aircraft to our U.S. customers, being close to the customer base and to our airlines. We were very successful in those first 2 or 3 years, growing and accelerating the build of those aircraft. And I think what a lot of people also now realize is that we just opened a second facility out at Brooklyn, which is for our A220 family, which is the joint venture that we engaged in with Bombardier, and now that we are the sole aerospace company in that joint venture. So we've grown significantly over the last 5 years, from being a nice piece of dirt where we had a great vision for building single aisle aircraft to now having 2 aircraft programs and over 1,000 employees on site and over 300 supplier employees also on site.
When you talk about the scope of what you do, creating and assembling the aircraft in Mobile, how difficult was it to make that transition to do that part of the assembly here away from your major points of distribution, as well as the manufacturing taking place on the European continent?
Well, obviously, a really big challenge, but not one that Airbus had not undertaken before. So we had a blueprint. I think we're the only aerospace operation that operates across as many locations as we do. Obviously, our base is in Toulouse, but we have an aerospace operation specifically for the single aisle in Hamburg as well, and then we have a sister facility in Tianjin. So when Mobile was decided and we made that strategic decision, we had a blueprint on how to move and how to create a operation offshore and how to do that successfully. So we were able to mirror what Tianjin did in China and duplicate that. We had great support across our operational network. Many of our first employees got to spend many months either in Hamburg, Toulouse, or in some cases Tianjin, to learn and engage in the processes. So the actual activity itself was significant. Building the facilities, bringing on board the processes, the tools, the techniques, making sure our customers felt comfortable coming to pick up their aircraft in a new facility. But the methodology was proven and has shown and then proven to be very successful.
What have you heard from your successful customers when they judged the aircraft, making comparisons, I'm sure, from what they were receiving out of their European and other facilities? What are you hearing from them?
So the good news is, what we don't want to be is different in terms of product quality or in terms of the product they actually pick up. And what we hear loud and clear is that what they pick up in Mobile meets the overall Airbus standard, which is obviously to the very highest level of safety and quality. What we do also hear then on top of that is how easy it is to come and pick their aircraft up in Mobile compared to maybe having to go to the Europe to pick that aircraft up. It makes it far easier for them to take this aircraft then into their own operations, to turn it into a profit maker, which ultimately is what they want. They want to be able to take the aircraft and within a very short period of time put that into operation with their customers.
And speaking of profit margins, how has it been for Airbus to have that facility here as you look at how and what it takes to manufacture and assemble your plane here as relates to profit margin for the company?
Well, our decision to come to Mobile and decision to come to the U.S. was certainly not in terms of cost basis. It was in terms of strategic and being part of a global environment. The U.S. is absolutely the largest single-aisle market, or the largest civil aircraft market, at least for today. We'll see what will happen in the next few years potentially. So the decision to come here was much more about strategic and being backed by our customers versus, let's say, one for profit or competitiveness. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't focus on those things every day, and it doesn't mean that we're not competitive and that it hasn't had a positive effect overall on Airbus's bottom line. And probably more importantly, it's had an impact on Airbus's top line, which is what we've seen since having a presence in the US, is that continued growth in our market share. And more of the airlines wanting to take the A320, A321 aircraft into their service versus maybe the competitor.
And if you would, talk about the economic impact on Mobile and this region, because you have made a major impact.
Yeah, we're very proud of that. We said we just reached 5 years, and we asked the University of Southern Alabama to do an economic development assessment, and what they came back with was somewhere between $1.1, $1.2 billion impact to the region since we came, and obviously that's anywhere from the impact on construction, the impact on salaries, but also the knock-on effect of the investment of those salaries into businesses in the area.
If you would, take about 30 seconds and tell us what the future holds for Airbus and the region, as well as what you envision for the company.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're in a very tough time. The industry is feeling the effects of COVID, like many others are, but people's willingness to fly, and the impact on our airlines has had an impact on slowing down what was a significant and very fast-paced growth here in Mobile. I think what we'll expect to see over the next 5 years is certainly over the next year or two is more of a stable position. The good news is we so far have been able to weather the COVID storm without having an impact on our employment, without significantly changing our industrial approach. I think we'll stay stable for the next year or two, and then hopefully, as we all come out of the COVID challenge, we'll see that return to growth in Mobile. The commitments we've made previously, which is on the new single-aisle A220 to reach 4 aircraft a month by the middle of the decade, and then hopefully on the 320 get back towards the rate 6 number that we talked about in prior discussions.
Daryl Taylor, Vice President, General Manager of the Airbus manufacturing facility. We thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the Airbus story in Mobile, and of course, wishing you a lot more success in the years ahead.
Thanks, Eric. Pleasure to be here.
Up next this morning, we'll talk with Michelle Hurdle, Director of Airbus Economic and Community Development. Perspectives continues in just a moment. Our guest now, Michelle Hurdle. She's the Director of Economic and Community Development with Airbus. We thank you for being a part of our discussion today as we're sharing the Airbus story. Now, Michelle, there are a couple of programs that are happening at Airbus now that I'm sure you're very proud of, as it sort of cements your relationship with the economic and community development here on the Gulf Coast. Give us an idea of what you're working on there at Airbus.
Well, one of the big things we just opened a couple of months ago is FlightWorks Alabama, and it's a partnership between Airbus and the state of Alabama, and we have built an aviation education center at Brookley. So when you come in, there are over 50 things, hands-on activities that you can do as a guest, and you can learn more about the aviation industry and how we build airplanes. The second program is Flight Path 9. That program's been around for almost a year now, and we had 25 seniors selected last year as they entered their senior year of high school, and they've received over 200 hours of training and earned over 300 industry recognized certificates, and learned how we build aircraft here in Mobile as well. So they are currently in the fast track training program with Airbus, and they will become Airbus employees in January.
Well, let's talk about this. Airbus has celebrated 5 years now of manufacturing the A320 aircraft here on the Gulf Coast, and one of the concerns some people threw out initially was the workforce here for Airbus to be able to capitalize on hiring more local people. And so it sounds like these two programs are a part of making that happen. Tell us how you all decided to do these particular two programs.
Well, we worked with the Airbus leadership both here in Mobile and in Herndon, Virginia, and Daryl Taylor, who's the site director, put a lot of focus on hiring locally, and we started the Flight Path 9 program to begin the program to see how it went. Of course, we had COVID in the middle of it, so that delayed the start of the students at Airbus as employees, but it only delayed it for about 6 months. So fortunately, we were able to bring those students on as we committed to initially. And FlightWorks Alabama, what we're doing is, while that is targeted to middle and high school students, it is to inspire students about the aviation industry and about STEM careers, or careers in the STEM program with science, technology, engineering, and math. Not everybody that goes into the industry has to be an engineer or pilot. That's not what I wanted to be or what I could be, but I still could be in a very cool industry and learn to do one of hundreds of different things that we hire people for.
You know, I can imagine this being so exciting for many of the young students, and I know that one of the high schools in the Mobile County system has an aviation program to introduce and get exposure. Tell us how you are receiving these students, and how are they now transferring that excitement to the program?
Well, the Flight Path 9 specifically, we have students from the BC Rain program, and there's also an aviation program out at the Bryant Center as well. So we have 2 feeders specifically, but we have students from 11 high schools all over Mobile, and then one from Baldwin County for our first inaugural class of Flight Path 9. So I think they have put in a ton of hours. They put in 2 nights a week. They would come during their senior year in high school. They sacrificed a lot of things, a lot of their social life to come and be a part and learn it. And we gave them the summer off, and now they're with us about 40 hours a week through December. And they're earning some money on the side as they learn this to prepare them to go to work for Airbus. They are really excited about it. They can't wait to start working, and they enjoy learning new things.
Looking at the Aviation Education Center, that seems to be a way to expose even younger citizens and residents of the area, to get them at a very young age, to where I can remember seeing a film where one of the older guys who was famous in flying playing in the open fields with a little paper plane. So you want to catch them at an earlier age, correct?
That's right. What we see is when children are young, everybody looks up in the air. They look and see how things work, how things fly. They want to try flying. At some point, sometimes they get away from that. They get involved in other things. But we want to inspire them and let them know what all the possibilities are in aviation. And that way, if they want to stay with it, if they want to learn more, there's an avenue to do that. We currently offer not only the exhibition area where they can do hands-on activities, but we offer a lot of workshops, whether it be 3D printing, sublimation, SolidWorks, and design. And we will offer industry-recognized certifications, so whether that is precision measurement, torque, structural, electrical, and you can learn real life using the tools that they use in the final assembly line, how the tools work and how we build aircraft.
And how difficult is it for a student to get involved? What should they do at this point?
Right now, we are waiting to relaunch the second year of Flight Path 9, so that will hopefully be relaunched next year. We're waiting to make sure that there are jobs there for the kids to enter into once they complete the program, and then we'll announce any future Flight Path 9 courses. Also, we have a website, flightworksalabama.com, and a Facebook page, and all of our workshops and programs are listed there, and you can sign up online or sign up in person.
Michelle Hurdle, our Director of Economic and Community Development for Airbus Manufacturing here in Mobile. We thank you so much for coming and sharing the excitement of what's happening, and as we see future generations a part of the Airbus experience.
That's right. Thank you so much, Eric.
When Perspectives continues, we talk with Stephen Brown, an Airbus Manufacturing Quality Assurance Lead Employee. We'll be right back. Our guest now, Stephen Brown. He is the Quality Assurance Lead at the Mobile Airbus Manufacturing Facility. We thank you very much for being a part of our discussion today, because your story is just outstanding. I thoroughly enjoyed learning more about how you ended up making a 360 return to the Brooklyn complex. Right. Tell us, Stephen, you actually got some experience of being on that area and the facility and the grounds as a young guy still riding your bicycle.
Yes. Eric, thanks for having us, and thanks for inviting me. Yeah, we grew up across the street from Brooklyn in RV Taylor Plaza, and as kids we used to ride our bikes, and we had a little cut through the gate that we would sneak through, and we would come over and ride around, and security guards finally called us and just told us, just come to the gate, you know, stop sneaking in. Right. And so they allowed us to come over and, you know, and do what we wanted to do. Most of the time we were just going fishing. Were you attracted to the fact of it being a military or the aerospace type situation there? Was that an attraction as well? Oh yeah, that was an attraction as well, because I was always a tinkerer, you know, so I was always interested in how airplanes flew and stuff like that, you know. Now you joined the Civil Air Patrol. Yes, I tried to join them. I never really got in. That was a miswrite, but I came over and I sat there with them for 3 days, and finally they just told me that they weren't going to sign me up, but that didn't discourage me. So I stayed interested in aviation, and checking out planes and stuff like that, watching planes land all day long and stuff like that.
And of course, that led you to the United States Air Force, which you gave quite a few years to the Air Force.
Yep, 26 years to be exact. Yeah.
Now, did any of that cross over to what you do today and the other jobs you've had in the airline industry?
Exactly, it does. Actually, I did 10 years active. I was an aircraft mechanic in the Air Force. And I did 10 years active. I got out and became a reservist in New Jersey Air National Guard. And at that point, we were flying on tankers. So all of this, my experience led me back to Mobile, And I also did a time with, when I was reservist, I would work for Northwest Airlines.
Right.
And I actually retired with Delta Airlines after 19 years.
So you truly have had a life of aviation, being a part of it for all of those years. And when you look at what opportunity was available when you considered the Airbus facility, were you impressed with what had happened here in Mobile over the time that you've been away?
Yes, I was very happy that Airbus came to Mobile. It gave me an opportunity to come back to Mobile. I never intended to come back, but once I saw that they came back, I did apply, and they hired me right away. And I guess my experience carried over to bring me back to Mobile.
And give us an idea of what you do as the quality assurance lead for those who may not be familiar with your job.
Well, I work in the delivery center, and what we do is we basically, when the factory finishes the build, we actually proof the build. We do all the system testing, all the ground checks, engine runs, destorages, and stuff like that. Before we give it to our flight group for their first flight, their flight testing. And after that, they flight test it, and then we bring it back. Any errors or anything that's wrong with the aircraft, we then have a production group that goes out and makes those repairs, or reworks as we call them. We don't really repair, we do reworks. And then we give it to the customer for their flight test, and then we deliver the aircraft to the customer.
And as you are thinking about the young guys that were the age when you first started having your experience with aviation, what recommendation would you tell them to prepare for a career in the aviation industry like you've had?
I would say just, get your schooling done and try to apply to different Airbus, or you can apply to Airbus, you can apply to airlines and get your experience, and just dig in and hold on, because it's a very interesting career. There's never a dull moment.
And as you think about the Airbus experience there, have you been pleased with what you've had happen to you once returning back to Mobile?
I'm very impressed with Airbus. I should have and could have wished I had done this a long time ago. Airbus is a very good company. They're people oriented. They have an open door policy. They have inclusion and diversity department that they try to include and train and get your ideas and stuff like that. So that's very different in this industry.
Stephen Brown, the quality assurance lead at the Airbus manufacturing facility in Mobile. We thank you so much for coming and sharing today, and I love your story of coming from a little young guy, 360, back in Mobile and working now for Airbus. Quite a story, and we thank you for sharing it this morning.
All right, thank you, Eric. Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
And of course, once again, Stephen Brown. And for more information now on Airbus in Mobile, including FlightWorks Alabama and Flight Path 9, go to flightworksalabama.com. And we also recommend that you read Mobile native Stephen Brown's story. You can find it on airbus.com. Click on the I Am Airbus tab and search for Stephen Brown's name. Next up on Perspectives, we talk to a Pulitzer Prize-winning, nationally syndicated columnist. Cynthia Tucker will share her opinion and insight into our recent elections, the results of the race for the White House, and Alabama's race for the U.S. Senate. The Monroeville, Alabama native is currently the journalist in residence at the University of South Alabama. Cynthia Tucker, next on Perspectives. And we ask you to please join us here next Saturday morning for Perspectives as we discuss the important issues and seek solutions. Now, if you have any ideas of topics that you'd like for us to address, drop it to us at perspectives@fox10tv.com. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Saturday.